Coordinates, 51 degrees and 41 minutes south, 59 degrees and 10 minutes west. / 51.683 degrees S, 59.167 degrees west. Minus 51.683, minus 59.167. The Falkland Islands, /F. LKL. ND/ Spanish, Islas Malvinas, pronounced, Islas Malvinas, is an archipelago in the South Atlantic Ocean on the Patagonian Shelf. The principal islands are about 300 miles, 483 kilometers, east of South America's southern Patagonian coast and about 752 miles, 1,210 kilometers, from the northern tip of the Antarctic Peninsula, at a latitude of about 52 degrees south. The archipelago, with an area of 4,700 square miles, 12,000 square kilometers, comprises East Falkland, West Falkland and 776 smaller islands. As a British overseas territory, the Falklands have internal self-governance, and the United Kingdom takes responsibility for their defence and foreign affairs. The Falkland Islands capital is Stanley on East Falkland. Controversy exists over the Falklands' discovery and subsequent colonization by Europeans. At various times, the islands have had French, British, Spanish and Argentine settlements. Britain reasserted its rule in 1833, but Argentina maintains its claim to the islands. In April 1982, Argentine military forces invaded the islands. British administration was restored 2 months later at the end of the Falklands War. Almost all Falklanders favor the archipelago remaining a UK overseas territory. Its sovereignty status is part of an ongoing dispute between Argentina and the United Kingdom. The population, 3,398 inhabitants in 2016. Consists primarily of native-born Falkland Islanders, the majority of British descent. Other ethnicities include French, Gibraltarian, and Scandinavian. Immigration from the United Kingdom, the South Atlantic island of St. Helena, and Chile has reversed a population decline. The predominant, and official, language is English. Under the British nationality, Falkland Islands, Act 1983, Falkland Islanders are British citizens. The islands lie on the boundary of the subantarctic oceanic and tundra climate zones, and both major islands have mountain ranges reaching 2,300 feet, 700 meters. They are home to large bird populations, although many no longer breed on the main islands because of competition from introduced species. Major economic activities include fishing, tourism and sheep farming, with an emphasis on high-quality wool exports. Oil exploration, licensed by the Falkland Islands government, remains controversial as a result of maritime disputes with Argentina. The name Falkland Islands comes from Falkland Sound, the strait that separates the two main islands. 5. The name Falkland was applied to the channel by John Strong, captain of an English expedition that landed on the islands in 1690. Strong named the strait in honor of Anthony Carey, 5th Viscount of Falkland, the treasurer of the Navy who sponsored his journey. 6. The Viscount's title originates from the town of Falkland, Scotland. The town's name likely comes from a Gaelic term referring to an enclosure, lan, but it could less plausibly be from the Anglo-Saxon term folkland, land held by folk right. 8. The name Falklands was not applied to the islands until 1765, when British Captain John Byron of the Royal Navy claimed them for King George III as Falklands Islands. 9. The term Falklands is a standard abbreviation used to refer to the islands. The Spanish name for the archipelago, Islas Malvinas, derives from the French Îles Malouines, the name given to the islands by French explorer Louis-Antoine de Bougainville in 1764. 10. Bougainville, who founded the island's first settlement, named the area after the port of Saint-Malo, the point of departure for his ships and colonists. 11. The port, located in the Brittany region of western France, was named after Saint Malo, or Maclou, the Christian evangelist who founded the city. 12. At the 20th session of the United Nations General Assembly, the Fourth Committee determined that, in all languages other than Spanish, all UN documentation would designate the territory as Falkland Islands, Malvinas. In Spanish, the territory was designated as Islas Malvinas, Falkland Islands. 13. The nomenclature used by the United Nations for statistical processing purposes is Falkland Islands, Malvinas. 14. Although few Fijians from Patagonia may have visited the Falkland Islands in prehistoric times, 15, the islands were uninhabited when Europeans first discovered them. 16. Claims of discovery date back to the 16th century, but no consensus exists on whether early explorers discovered the Falklands or other islands in the South Atlantic. 1718b. The first recorded landing on the islands is attributed to English Captain John Strong, who, en route to Peru and Chile's littoral in 1690, discovered the Falkland Sound and noted the island's water and game. 20. The Falklands remained uninhabited until the 1764 establishment of Port Louis on East Falkland by French Captain Louis-Antoine de Bougainville and the 1766 foundation of Port Egmont on Saunders Island by British Captain John McBride. c. Whether or not the settlements were aware of each other's existence is debated by historians. 23. In 1766, France surrendered its claim on the Falklands to Spain, which renamed the French colony Puerto Soledad the following year. 24. Problems began when Spain discovered and captured Port Egmont in 1770. War was narrowly avoided by its restitution to Britain in 1771. 25. Both the British and Spanish settlements coexisted in the archipelago until 1774, when Britain's new economic and strategic considerations led it to voluntarily withdraw from the islands, leaving a plaque claiming the Falklands for King George III. 26. Spain's viceroyalty of the Rio de la Plata became the only governmental presence in the territory. West Falkland was left abandoned, and Puerto Soledad became mostly a prison camp. 27. Amid the British invasions of the Rio de la Plata during the Napoleonic Wars in Europe, the island's governor evacuated the archipelago in 1806, Spain's remaining colonial garrison followed suit in 1811, except for gauchos and fishermen who remained voluntarily. 27. Thereafter, the archipelago was visited only by fishing ships. Its political status was undisputed until 1820, when Colonel David Jewett, an American privateer working for the United Provinces of the Rio de la Plata, informed anchored ships about Buenos Aires' 1816 claim to Spain's territories in the South Atlantic. 28d. Since the islands had no permanent inhabitants, in 1823 Buenos Aires granted German-born merchant Louis Vernet permission to conduct fishing activities and exploit feral cattle in the archipelago. Vernet settled at the ruins of Puerto Soledad in 1826, and accumulated resources on the islands until the venture was secure enough to bring settlers and form a permanent colony. 32. Buenos Aires named Vernet military and civil commander of the islands in 1829. 33. And he attempted to regulate sealing to stop the activities of foreign whalers and sealers. 27. Vernet's venture lasted until a dispute over fishing and hunting rights led to a raid by the American warship USS Lexington in 1831. 34f. When United States Navy Commander Silas Duncan declared the dissolution of the island's government. 35. Buenos Aires attempted to retain influence over the settlement by installing a garrison, but a mutiny in 1832 was followed the next year by the arrival of British forces who reasserted Britain's rule. 36. The Argentine Confederation, headed by Buenos Aires Governor Juan Manuel de Rosas, protested against Britain's actions. 37g. And Argentine governments have continued since then to register official protests against Britain. 40h. The British troops departed after completing their mission, leaving the area without formal government. 42. Vernet's deputy, the Scotsman Matthew Brisbane, returned to the islands that year to restore the business, but his efforts ended after, amid unrest at Port Louis, Gaucho Antonio Rivero led a group of dissatisfied individuals to murder Brisbane and the settlement's senior leaders. Survivors hid in a cave on a nearby island until the British returned and restored order. 42. In 1840, the Falklands became a crown colony and Scottish settlers subsequently established an official pastoral community. 43. 4 years later, nearly everyone relocated to Port Jackson, considered a better location for government, and merchant Samuel Lafone began a venture to encourage British colonization. 44.